And to share this special session with all of us. First of all, to remember that today, September 27, we celebrate all the people that are in this industry. We celebrate our day. Today, September 27, is the Turing's Day. And happy to share with all of you. And of course, this morning we will have a very special opportunity that to have with us and to share, exchange some ideas personally from one of the guys, one of the hoteliers that for sure had helped to transform the hotel industry. From the age of 18, when at the time there was an engineer department of the hotel with the main responsibility to plug in toilets, well, until now. And seems that he born to fix things. Please join me to receive here the president and CEO of Hilton, Chris Nassetta. Thank you so much to take your time to share with the SAHIC audience.
Arturo, I'm very happy to be here. We had the pleasure of having dinner together last night, so it was nice to see you. And I want to formally apologize for having canceled on you three years ago. I promised Arturo I'd be here in 2013, and we had a little thing called an IPO that got in the way. It was going on at exactly the same time, and he was very understanding.
But we'd
agreed reluctantly to rebook me for this year.
No, you know, and we have some reservation for future editions and for future also. No, but you know, for us, your company is very special in our remembrance because you know, from the very beginning when we have this idea to put the SAHIC, this conference in the region, we have some, not only Hilton, but some colleagues supporting us. But the first one that make a call and say, Arturo, what do you need? We will help you, was Greg Rocket. And Greg Rocket, you know.
He's a good man, yeah. An important part of the world for us here in Latin America.
At that time, he was covering the region.
He was, yeah.
From Miami.
I see him all the time.
I say, you have time tomorrow morning? Yes. Well, I will fly this night and I will be with you tomorrow morning.
That's good. Well, we all thank you for putting this together and getting what is obviously a great group of people together and getting people engaged in figuring out how to advance our cause in Latin America.
Thank you so much once again. Well, from that time in the engineer department of the hotel, no? Did you ever envision that you would be transforming hotel companies that you have done first with the Host Hotel and after with the Hilton Hotels?
It's a long, sordid story, Arturo, and how much time do we have?
No problem.
I would love to say that my life has been a plan and that it all was sort of set out so that I could end up here on this stage with you to talk about the great work that we're doing at Hilton, the great work the people of Hilton are doing to have a tremendously positive impact on the world. But that would be misleading because it was not a plan. In a sense, I'm an inadvertent hotelier in the following way. I got into the hotel business at a very early age. I told my father when I was 16 I was interested in the hotel business, and he said, that's great, then, like any business, if you really want to learn it, you need to go in at the very bottom. And so he helped me get a job in the engineering department working for one of our competitors who will remain nameless. I don't need to do any marketing for any of them. And I worked summers and, learned about the business. And then I went on, got my education, and, got a finance degree and got into the business of real estate development and other things. And, the truth is, at every step of the journey, I ended up inadvertently, meaning it wasn't a conscious plan, one way or another, back in the hotel business through multiple iterations early in my career, and to the point where I finally capitulated and I said, it seems that there's something with this, and that it's a business I really love. And what I really have always loved about the business, and I will answer your question, is the complexity of it, that the opportunity, the diversity of things that you do in the hotel business, the intellectual stimulation to make it all work, and most importantly, the people. One thing I always realized in all the different things I did in my life, that I had lots of good experiences, but nothing that ever came close to the hotel business, the business of hospitality, the business of people serving people. And so I eventually said, geez, it must be in some way your calling, although it wasn't a plan. In terms of being involved in transformational efforts in companies, again, I wouldn't say it was a plan. It's just like, like most people, I really want to be part of having an impact and be part of something bigger than myself. And at both my host experience and at Hilton Worldwide, I ended up in leadership positions in companies that, to be fair, were good companies that had been around a long time, but they, in both instances, I think, had tremendous upside potential that wasn't being realized, and that the core element of what was missing in both companies was culture. Not that the cultures didn't exist, but that the cultures were not harmonized in the right way to get people rallied around a common cause, if you will. And that's what I saw at Host, that's what I saw at Hilton, that's why I took the job at Hilton. I said, this is a wonderful company with all this amazing brands and assets all over the world that has been around almost 100 years, but it really was not optimizing opportunities to have impact, positive impact, and optimizing growth opportunities. And I saw that if we could really rally the troops and transform the culture, we could energize hundreds of thousands of people around a common cause, and ultimately do some pretty special things, which I think we've done, in my humble opinion.
Okay, you repeat people, no? From you after taking the CEO position in 2009, no? We can see how you try to lead this special culture, no, in your company. How you maintain this great culture with the people feel like they are part of something bigger, but at the same time act absolutely freedom, no?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty simple concept. I think it's actually quite complex and difficult to execute against. So I think the concept is, I would describe as getting everybody in an organization, whether it's a hotel company, whatever it might be, focused around what their true north is. What is it that we're here to do? Purpose, if you will. In our case, we have a rallying call that is a purpose that's quite simple for the business we're in. We want to be the most hospitable company on earth. And what does that mean? It means, of course, we want to deliver exceptional experiences for our guests. Of course, we want to deliver great value for our owners. Of course, we want to deliver great opportunities for our team members, and we want to contribute in meaningful ways to our communities. That's our rallying call, if you will, to be the most hospitable company on earth. And so it starts with some purpose that everybody ultimately at a high level, a more ethereal level, can buy into. And then I think it's connecting it to the values of the organization, connecting it to key strategic priorities that are going to drive the business forward. And what I would describe is getting intense alignment around it. So that's the hard part. Trying to decide why you exist and who you are and where you're trying to go, I guess, can be difficult. For us, I think it was natural. But trying to get intense alignment when you're dealing with an organization that has 350,000 people in 105 countries is quite an undertaking. If you can do it, it's incredibly powerful. And so we have lots of different ways that we get our teams rallied around our core purpose, around the values of the organization, and around ultimately the key strategic priorities that we think are going to take us to the promised land. And then to the last part of your question, which I actually think in today's world is the most challenging part of it all, is to distribute leadership. What I mean by that, when you talk about empowering people to be able to make decisions, particularly in a very big global company, what is imperative for us to be successful is that we serve customers well. That means that decisions as it relates to how we serve those customers have to be made locally, within boundaries. The boundaries are our vision, our mission, our values, our key strategic priorities, but how those get interpreted, sort of freedom within the framework, if you will, has to be done at the point with the greatest amount of knowledge and information. That, by definition, is on the front line in every market around the world. So you have to build an incredibly strong culture, one where people are intensely aligned, one where people understand that framework, and then you have to give them the freedom. Because if you don't give them the freedom, number one, you're not going to empower your people, you're not going to keep your best people, and most importantly, you're not going to serve your customers as well. Because I say it to our team all the time. Last time I checked, we're not going to be able to make all the decisions out of McLean, Virginia that are going to best serve our customers here in Ecuador, or for that matter, anywhere else on earth. It's our teams on the front line that are in this room and around the world that are dealing with our customers every day, and they know what they want. And if we give them the right framework and we empower them to do it, they're going to deliver a great experience every time and better than we ever could.
Great. Well, during these years of tremendous change in the hotel industry and huge change in the Hilton company, we can imagine that you have taken important decisions, some of them crucial decisions. If you have the opportunity to begin once again, do you think that perhaps some of those crucial decisions was not taken? Or
the short answer is there's got to be things that I would do different, just because your perspective changes. I've been at the company now nine years, and what I know today is far more than I knew when I arrived on the scene 9 years ago. But I do have a view that is, while you can't be naive to the past, and you certainly want to learn from mistakes, I'm a very forward-looking guy. And so I'm very focused on looking at our organization today and saying, here's where we are, and here are the critical things that we need to focus on to take our culture to the next level. Inevitably, if I were to think about it, I can't think of lots of specific things. Inevitably, I would say the thing I would always do differently is do things faster. I mean, what appeared, when I got here, I felt like everything we were doing felt like light speed. We were moving heaven and earth. But then when you look back in time and you look at the timelines, you realize you could have advanced things much, much more quickly. So I would say inevitably when I look back, it's things that, and this is the difficulty of leadership, some things that you know and sort of your gut and your instincts and your experience tell you should do, you shouldn't defer. So thankfully, none of those things that I might have deferred damaged us in the sense that we made decisions and we moved on and we're in a good place. But I think always it could have done things more quickly.
Well, thank you. Reviewing the changes and some practice that you put in practice, claimed my attention the business immersion program. That this is very interesting, which this program encourages your senior executives to at least once per year to be at the front of the hotels. What was the reaction of your people when you say, well, we will go ahead with this practice?
I got an interesting, some of them are in the room, so what was your guys' reaction? I got a very interesting reaction. The point of the business immersion program, which I kicked off and I do every year, was, one of the things I discovered at the company, which you find in a lot of service-related industries, is the corporate and the field had started to grow apart. And as much as corporate was trying to do things to make the lives of our team members in the field better and easier, it wasn't really interpreted that way. And I think a distance had grown between corporate and the field in a way where I think it was harming our ability to deliver great service. We had a lot of people that were inside the company that had either not worked, including myself. I told you I started in the back of House of Hotels, but it had been 30 years since I'd been in a hotel. And a lot of our folks in financial functions and tax functions had never worked in a hotel. So I said, we're going to do this because I want everybody to get closer to the customer. I want everybody to understand the hard work that goes to delivering these experiences, because if you're going to be back at corporate making the decisions on product standards, service standards, without a real understanding of what it takes to execute against those, you're not going to be making as good a decision. And at the same time, by having our senior corporate people work in the hotels, try and rebuild the bridges between our corporate team members and our frontline team members, demystify the situation a little bit, meaning that, you know, everybody understanding we're all humans. We all, you know, as my father used to say, we all put our pants on one leg at a time. And I would say the reaction was interesting. You know, I think some people...
It's true?
Yeah, yes. I'd say some people didn't love it, and at the time, but everybody that's done it, unless they're lying to me, and I don't think they do that, I think everybody loves it. I think it's had the desired effect. I think it has become viral, meaning that it has definitely connected our teams, you know, our corporate teams and our frontline teams. It has definitely sort of built the bridges that I was trying to build. And I think our corporate team has a much better understanding of how the decisions they are making are impacting on the front line, the execution and the delivery of service to our customers.
Yeah, and like I say, that is true from my point of view with my experience traveling all around the Latin American. I can assure that we feel that in the region with the people. Yeah, really.
I'm sure you'll let me know if you don't.
Oh, no. Well, you know, from time to time, and in the last years, there are some uncertain economic times well, perhaps all over the world.
I didn't notice. I thought everything was just perfect.
Oh, yeah, well.
You guys notice any problems?
You need to travel more often to our region.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Well,
I'm an optimist by nature.
Have you keep motivating your team in these times with almost is like you are expecting, no?
I think that's actually, you know, quite simple again in conceptual terms, and I think we had the greatest. While today there are certainly challenges, we never had a greater challenge than we did during the Great Recession, when our company had just recently been taken private through a leveraged buyout. We had, you know, debt, you know, more debt than anybody would ever hope to have in a lifetime, in an environment that was declining at a very rapid pace, the greatest, you know, declines in the recorded history of hospitality, and we were, you know, trying to transform, as we just talked about, the entire culture and business. We were sort of, all the balls were up in the air and the world was falling apart, and we kept it together, and actually were able to use it as a means to refocus the energy and the enthusiasm of the company towards a more rapid transformation. And the way we did it, I'd say, is really simple, and that is, one, making sure that people have see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? That you have a good strategy and that you can articulate it in very simple ways, in very tangible ways, so that a CEO, a CFO understands it, but a housekeeper and a bellman understand it. That they can see that while it might be tough right now, and they live in the world, they read, they watch the news, they know things are different, but if they feel like there's a strategy, there's a vision for where we're going that they believe in, they will stick with you. So you have to give them the vision and that strategy, and then you have to have successes along the way. You have to find intermittent times, even in the most difficult of times, to have successes against that vision that you set for folks and celebrate those successes. And then it feeds on itself. I mean, that's exactly what we did. It was the most difficult time you can imagine, but we had a vision of where we wanted to go. We had a great strategy. We told people we're going to get there, like the world's upside down, but if we stay focused and disciplined and executing against that strategy, that light at the end of the tunnel is going to get closer and closer and closer. And every step of the way, we found ways to celebrate, even if they were small, celebrate those successes to reinforce that we're headed in a good direction. And you'd be amazed. Again, I think, you know, it's human nature. We talked about it, people want to feel like they're part of something bigger. They want to feel like they're on a winning team. They want to feel, people don't like uncertainty. So if you can give them a vision of where you're going, and you can simplify it into the most basic terms that they understand, and it becomes tangible, and then they see good things happening, they're going to stick with you.
Terrific. Well, going to Latin America, going to more to Latin. What is your vision for Latin America, and how do you see the region, and specifically the growth of Hilton in Latin America?
Latin America is hugely important to us for a simple reason, and that is our desire is to be able to serve any customer for any need they have anywhere in the world they want to be. So if you start with that core principle or strategy, then and take it to its extremes, we need to be both geographically diverse and chain scale diverse, price point diverse. And that means in Latin America, if we're going to be able to serve our customers that are coming from all different parts of the world, or that are that originate from this part of the world, we need to have the products to be able to serve them, and obviously deliver service that's in keeping with what they demand. And so we've had tremendous success here after, I'd say, a slow start. When I got here, my gosh, I think we're going to have 100 hotels in Latin America by the end of the year. We probably had 20. We've grown by 5 times. I mean, in the last 5 years, we've tripled our presence in Latin America, and we're setting new records for our company in terms of opening hotels. We've opened 20 in the last 12 months. We've signed another 30 deals. We've got over 50 hotels in the pipeline and growing. So we have to be here, okay? One, it's an incredibly important region of the world. It's a huge population base of people, obviously, that live in broader Latin America. They travel like everybody else. They want to see, within the region, they want to see the rest of the world. So we want to build a business in Latin America for Latin America, but we also want to build a business in Latin America for when Latin Americans travel and they go to other parts of the world, that they'll be loyal to us. So the network effect of being able to serve more people in more places for all of their needs at different price points is incredibly critical, and we're very focused on building out our distribution system in Latin America to assist us.
Yeah, it's true. No, Ted and all his team have done and are doing a terrific job in this way to growth, and in terms of bring the
it's not been easy.
It's
been easier, as Ted and Juan and the team will tell you, it's been easier in other parts of the world, but I just met with all of our development team in there, I'm sure, here in the crowd. We have tremendous momentum now, and you can start to see that the performances, that we have, that we're building out enough of a distribution network and brand awareness where it's really starting to take on an entirely different life, and we have a network of owner relationships now and franchisees that has been growing, by multiples that is allowing us to sort of spread our wings and grow at a much different rate than we've seen.
Wonderful. How would you advise fellow hoteliers in their future development in Latin America and specifically in South America?
I don't want to give them any advice. What do you mean? Okay. I'm not going to give. I would advise to pack it in and go home.
Well, not advice, not advice, but perhaps to share experience.
Arturo, I think it's really hard, and I think they should. They should go back to wherever they came from and let us, have all the opportunities.
Well, it's true. It's true, because it's a permanently exchange. It's true.
I would say, I guess if I had to give some advice, which I really don't, I would say patience and discipline. That's what I just finished talking to our team about. It's happening. If you think about the branded hotel space in Latin America, I think has evolved, and you would be tracking it even more than I, but I think it's evolved nicely in the last decade. I think it's picking up momentum because companies like ours and a couple others are doing good things. And so I would say a patient, disciplined strategy for how you take global brands, you localize those brands, and you build out a distribution network is going to pay dividends, but it takes time. There's huge complexity. Latin America, we talk about it as a place. You know better than I. It's a big place with a huge amount of diversity, lots of countries, lots of different, issues, regulatory and otherwise to navigate. It's not just one place. It's 50 places, and so it's well worth it, but it requires a lot of work, a lot of patience, and a lot of discipline. But as I said, we've been grinding it out. We've tripled in the last 5 years. If we do our job, we're going to triple in the next 5 years, and ultimately, I think there's tremendous opportunity on the branded side. I think that's only going to continue to pick up momentum because, there are a few, and I'm not, I won't start naming names of the big global brands, ourselves included, that if you just look at the statistics of our growth and market share and the strength of the brands, are getting more and more awareness and gaining more and more market share. And I think as that continues to happen, the opportunities here grow with it. And Latin America, as I described, becomes a critical component of it. Because if we can't crack the code in Latin America and build the loyalty as we have in other parts of the world, it does damage to the whole network effect everywhere else. So I think it's happening. Patience and discipline will get you there.
Well, taking advantage that we are in front of a creative and innovator hotelier, no? Can we share with us what is next for Hilton?
Yeah, there are a lot of things that are next. I guess the core of it is, we're in the midst, as many people know, of splitting the company into 3 pieces. So Hilton's been around almost 100 years now, and throughout that 100 years, we've been in a sense, a conglomerate for most of it, where we had a management, branding business, if you will, a big real estate business, and at least in the last 25 years, a big timeshare business. And while all those businesses are interconnected and in one way or another are in the leisure hospitality space, they're really 3 different businesses. So we're, by the end of this year, going to break those into the 3 businesses, and I think that gives each of the businesses a unique opportunity to lead in their segments and to have pure play management teams that are focused on activating those businesses in a way that makes sense for just that business, and in a way that would be very difficult, has been very difficult when you put them all together. So for the company that I'm going to run, which is Hilton Worldwide, as we emerge, the management, franchise, and branding business, I think the opportunity is to continue to do what we've been doing and to be even better at it. And that is continue to deliver exceptional experiences to our guests by being incredibly innovative with the products we have, by continuing to innovate in adding new products, as we've done in the last years, including this year, the most successful brand launch we've had in our history, with True by Hilton starting out in North America, and continuing to innovate in how we relate to the customer. By splitting the company, it allows us to singularly focus on what we're doing for our customer without the distractions of the things in the other parts of the business. And I think that the next 10 years in our business are going to be a unique opportunity for those of us that do it right. And I certainly plan on us being one of the ones that does it right. And that is to say, the historic perspective of the hotel business, having been around it my whole life, is check in to check out. You got to get it right. You got to create an exceptional experience, and if you do, the customer's going to come back. Well, that's not. We still have to do that, by the way. And I said to our team just a half hour ago, if we don't, we'll be out of business. But more than ever, because of everything going on with technology and how people are being retrained in other parts of their life, we have to extend that journey. Okay, well, we have to do a great job when the customer's with us. When they're not with us, we have to find ways to relate to them in new and interesting and relevant ways to their life, whether that's when they're dreaming about trips, how they're booking those trips, how they're getting prepared for those trips, how they're giving us feedback after those trips, how they're sharing their experiences with those they care about after or during those trips. In any, we think about all the ways that we are now connected, and in the digital space and technology world is allowing things that we've had never dreamed of before. So the next decade is going to be, I think, an opportunity to own the customer in a very different way. Again, have to own them check in to check out, but if we can get our customers' hearts throughout the whole journey of them, from the first time they're thinking about dreaming about a trip till when it's over and they're sharing the great stories of their trip, we're going to be a lot more relevant to them. So what does that mean? That means all the things that you see us doing. That means, the digital world. That means our digital check-in, digital key, our connecting, the #1 rated app in all of travel, connecting to Uber, connecting to with a whole bunch of different partnerships, more dream functionality. So when you're thinking about booking, et cetera, and that in the end is where the business is going. And those that do it well are going to end up having a different share of the wallet of their customers, because it's not just going to be the traditional elements of loyalty. It's going to become you're going to become almost ubiquitous. You're going to become part of people's travel lives in a way you haven't been before, and you're going to do it in a fun and interesting way, and make it easy. And as a consequence, I think you're going to build massive amounts of loyalty beyond what we see today.
Well, talking about technology, talking about online sales and Uber and so on, there is a question that I need to do it, that I think the audience also. That is, what about Airbnb?
Who?
Well,
It's like asking Gary Johnson about Aleppo. No, I'm kidding. That's an American joke. Airbnb. So it's a great segue, what I just said. If we do all the things I just said, okay, then it's very hard to disintermediate us. Meaning, if we have great check-in to do a great job check-in to check-out, we extend that journey digitally in a way that we're relevant to our customers, then I think we will continue to have a very direct and strong relationship with our customer and get a very high share of their travel wallet. Airbnb is a very good business. Spent a lot of time analyzing it, talking to them, thinking about it. In the end, my simple response to that is it's just a different business. Okay, and if I were to say it, and they would, I know disagree with this, but I think we're in the business of hospitality, and that is to take great products and wrap it in authentic, heartfelt service. And I think they and others are more of a distribution network, and they are more in the business of lodging, connecting a customer with a particular lodging need, but not connecting it with all the elements of hospitality that we do. And so does that mean customers are never going to use them? No, of course, lots of people are using them, but I think it's for a very different sort of travel need. When you really do the math, it's much more of a value proposition where people are looking for something different. They're not looking for a traditional hospitality experience. They're willing to accept something less than that because they're looking for a value for a whole bunch of different reasons. So in the core of it, we don't really compete with them. As we look at it, I'm not going to say be naive to say around the edges for a certain type of leisure business that we don't compete, but it's a very, very thin part of the business that we compete on. By and large, I think there's an opportunity for us both to prosper in different ways by serving both different customers, sometimes serving the same customer, but when they have a very different, when it's a very different travel occasion.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing your vision about this, that all the people talk about that. What is your vision?
I know a lot of people worry about it, and I talk to it got to a point where every investor I talked to wanted to bring it up and thought it was, you know, a potential existential threat to the business. I just don't believe that. I think it's a great business, and I think they'll have a great place in the travel space. I just think it's a different business.
You know, in the region there are the people so square, no, it's a little bit worried about it's beginning.
I remember
Airbnb.
my first one of the greatest professors I had in business school was a fellow named George Overstreet. I still know him. I saw him last weekend, as a matter of fact. And I remember him, you know, his first comment on the first day of class, I was 19 years old, and he said something to the effect of, remember the core business you're in. I mean, never lose sight of the core business you're in. If you do, you're ultimately going to, you know, sort of run the train off the tracks. And so when I think about Airbnb, when I think about the OTAs, that's probably next on your list. I think about all these things. And by the way, we're partners with the, I mean, I think about it in the context of not forgetting the business we're in. Yeah. They're in a different business. They're in a distribution business. And of course, there's a distribution element of our business. Yeah. But we're in the business of hospitality.
Yeah, but
and if you remember, and if we keep reminding ourselves of that and make sure that our strategy is to execute that flawlessly in every hotel with every guest every single time, we're going to be just fine.
Yeah. Your vision is an interesting point, no? Because it's opportunity for the hospitality industry to show to all the people
we're different.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And last I checked, I don't know, I interact with a lot of customers. I think their demands for hospitality aren't diminishing, right?
Okay.
I think actually their expectations for hospitality are going up with all the other things happening in their lives and all of the different ways they're being served. I think their demands are getting greater, not lesser. So I think that, you know, our need to lean in and do an even better job on the hospitality side is more important. And as we do it, it allows us to continue to differentiate ourselves.
Yeah. And it's what, about the hospitality industry and more about the travel and tourism industry, which is your vision of the future of our industry?
Well, I think our industry plays an unbelievably important role in the world. It's not only that we allow for people to go and travel for leisure and accomplish their business objectives, but if you get underneath the business and the opportunities that we create in the supply chain and employment, in the work that we're doing in the communities and with sustainability, we have an opportunity to have a tremendously positive impact on the world. People, I think, quickly forget that hospitality is the largest industry on earth. The travel and tourism element of which is hospitality. Travel and tourism is the largest employer on earth. 1 in 11 people are employed in the travel and tourism business. We have a business in travel and tourism that is dominated by young people, where people get their start in life. We also have a business that's growing because everybody around the world wants to travel. Everybody wants the same things. They want to see the world. They want to see their region. They want to go see other regions. And so when you put it all together, it's big part of a big economic engine, big employer, one of the highest growth rates of any of the larger industries out there. You put all that together and there's a tremendous opportunity to have impact or not. And so when I think about the future of the industry, I think about, certainly from Hilton Worldwide point of view, but also broadly being, running one of the big companies in the industry, is to focus on that impact that we can have. Training young people, giving young people an opportunity to have a line of sight to a better future. We're gonna generate tons of jobs, developing our people to allow them to be able to take care of themselves and have a broader impact. Sustainability initiatives. Our industry working together could either have a massively positive impact or not. And so I think they're in addition to just basically serving our customers, I think opportunities for employment and people and training and development and efforts in the community, particularly on sustainability, we can have a very positive impact on the world and do a great job for shareholders at the same time.
Okay. Well, before to try to know a little bit more of you, beyond that, the hotelier, no? I would like if you can help us to understand a little bit more some concerns that we are having in the last 6 months or more or less, because all the people like us that we live at the south of Key Biscayne, no, Argentina, we we are seeing this process, the presidential process in the U.S. And I will not ask
What a day to
Trump
bring that
or
up.
Hilton. No, it's another matter. No?
Arturo, you and I were at a dinner last night. And
Yeah,
so
it's true.
we missed the whole debate, so I'm not up to speed.
But you know, from our side, it's very important what could happen after that. Not if we win one or the other. No, what could be safe our business, because all the people who works, live, love, dream, cry in this region, no? Well, we have some, we receive the impact of the decisions of the future of the country. Do you think that we can feel safe, whatever were the decision that the U.S. people will take?
I think the short answer is yes. And maybe the backstory to that is, without commenting on the current political situation, because I didn't watch it last night, I'm not up to speed, but and it's not to minimize the impact that any president of the United States can have. I think they can have a big impact, positive or negative, but there's a limited amount of time that they serve in office, and administrations change. That's the way the system is set up. The reason I would not worry if I were in Latin America is that I think that we have relationships, but the relationship between the United States and Latin America are just too important not to work. And so, you know, when you think about the population base combined, you think about the trading opportunities and necessity, the workforce, you know, on both sides, and the necessity of the connectivity of those workforces. I just think there's a tremendous amount of momentum. There are going to be ups and downs. There are going to be political changes in Latin America, by the way, which are happening all the time that don't make it easy the other way. But I think when you put that many people that have, you know, in many ways similar values, in that close a proximity to one another, I think we are inexorably linked together. And so through thick and thin, while there be ebbs and flows, I think in the very long term, I think it's going to be a very positive, I think it has to be a very positive relationship, and over time, calm heads will prevail to make that happen. There could be tumultuous times between here and there, but I think the long-term trajectory is quite positive. And I think companies like ours, not to pat us on the back, but many other large companies are helpful to that. I mean, the more success we have in spreading our brands, and other large international companies, you know, spread their brands, the more that you have that kind of cross-pollination, if you will, and, you know, sort of an element of cultural sharing that goes on, I think the closer we become, the more those ties become even harder to break.
It's true, independent of the politics all over the world, all over our region. I think the private sector companies like you and businessmen like we are here, working together will help the politicians to take better decisions.
Hopefully we're all going to be around a lot longer than them.
And talking about better decisions than politicians especially.
We don't have 4-year terms.
Yeah, it's true.
Some shorter.
Yeah. I know that you can do a lot for some changes that we are waiting in the region, and that match with perhaps with some compromise with your father, no? We are exchanging some comments about that and the relation, no, with Cuba, no? What do you think is? How do you think that Cuba going to this opening to receive
I
mainly.
told Arturo yesterday, we were with the Cuban delegation, hopefully some of them are in the room, and we've been very focused on getting back into Cuba. We were the first international hotel company in Cuba many years ago. My father just turned 86. I was telling Arturo, was quite upset with me that we weren't the first one that was announcing being back in Cuba, because he said, while I'm still alive, I want to go back to Cuba. When he was a child, that's where his family went on vacation on a regular basis, and he's never been back since. And he said, one of his dreams is to be able to go back while before he is not on this earth. So it made me feel a dire sense of responsibility and obligation to get Hilton back into Cuba. We have hundreds of thousands, probably millions of other customers. In addition to my father, who's a customer that want to be in Cuba and want to be there with us. So it's it's something we're really focused on. We're working through the process with the American government to be licensed to be able to do it. And I had a great visit with the Cuban delegation yesterday, and I'm going to be with you hopefully in May in Havana.
In May in Havana,
to ink, to put ink to paper and bring Hilton back to Havana.
Of course, you will decide, but your father will be our special guest at that time. We know that you love your family, 6 daughters.
6 daughters, yes.
Yeah. Really.
It's a busy.
Nice.
I have a busy life. I travel a lot, and I go home, and
you have some time for?
I always kid that when I'm at the office, I'm theoretically the boss. When I go home, I have 7 bosses.
Yeah, I can understand.
At least 7.
7 humans, but it's nice, really. I can.
It is.
I can imagine that you enjoy. But beyond that, you have some time from some hobbies, something that you say by yourself, something that you enjoy.
I do. I enjoy lots of things. I love cooking. That's why I'm wearing this Band-Aid, because Sunday night I cut my finger doing it. I have a bad habit of cutting myself cooking, but I love to cook. I like golf. I don't play much golf anymore. I like to fish a little, I like to be on the water a lot. So those are, a few of my interests.
think
that's about all I have time for.
I assume that you will enjoy so much, and I invite you in the presence of all of us to play golf in Varadero, across the sea. You will see what is this.
Consider
next May.
Consider that invitation accepted.
Okay.
You're going to have to give me some strokes, though, because I haven't played much.
I assume that you are a dreamer, because if not, you can stay where you stay. I don't know, but I assume that you are a dreamer. What are your dreams for the next years, for the years to become?
I think I talked about it. My dream is that I want us to be the leading hospitality company, and I want us to be the most hospitable company on earth. And that means that I want our customers to really feel like everything we're doing is delivering on their expectations. I want us to, as we have been as the pioneer in the business, I want us to be viewed as the leading innovator in the hospitality space that has an intense focus on our customer and doing everything through the eyes of our customer in a way that really resonates, and that we have tremendous loyalty from our customer base, and that loyalty translates into very high levels of market share, and that high level of market share allows us to continue to grow, and growth not for growth's sake, but growth for opportunity's sake, because the more we grow, the more opportunities we have to serve customers, the more owners we can help grow their business, the more impact in a positive way we can have in the communities where we work and live and travel. And most importantly, because I view this as really my primary job, the more opportunities we can create for our team to grow and learn and do bigger and better things. So it is a virtuous cycle that starts with the customer and delivering exceptional experiences, exceptional products, and incredible innovation that makes us even more relevant in their lives. On my personal life, which is probably more important, because that's really my legacy. My dream is just to have 6 daughters grow up and be great people, have great values, and make some positive contributions to the world. Whatever those things are that they want to do, I just want them to make positive contributions.
Chris, we would like to have another 1 hour, but we have exceeded time. It was a great
They've had enough
opportunity
of me anyway.
to speak with you. I think
Arturo, thank you.
No, our pleasure. I hope the audience enjoy these times. Please join me.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chris. Y gracias, Arturo. Christopher Nassetta, President and CEO, Hilton. Christopher, in recognition of your enormous professional accomplishment that have united Hilton behind a common vision and mission, and along a strong organic growth strategy has led the brand to expand, SAHIC appreciates your commitment to growing the industry and your continuous commitment to innovation. SAHIC's Inspirational Hospitality Icon Award 2016 goes to you, Mr. Christopher Nassetta. Thank you so very much.
I think you guys have heard enough from me, but I want to thank you all for this tremendous honor. I accept it not on my own behalf, but on behalf of the people, many of whom are in the audience and working in this fine hotel, of the people of Hilton Worldwide, who wake up every single day trying to fill the earth with the light and warmth of hospitality. Our people have a tremendous amount of heart and soul. I work very hard, but I play a very, very small part in a big equation where we have hundreds of thousands of people giving their heart and soul every day. So on behalf of everybody from Hilton Worldwide in this room, both at the hotel, corporately, and otherwise, thank you guys for who you are and everything that you do.
Muchísimas gracias, Chris. Thank you so very, very much. And thank you for your hospitality this year here at the Hilton Colón, Guayaquil.